What a fucking game.
Welcome to Split the Defense.
Split the defense.
LEAFS Postgame Edition.
Which is unusual.
There's still a chance.
Split the Defense is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004. Serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.
I always feel so stupid.
So it seemed like they were missing something.
Alongside co-host Craig Pearce and producer Ted Evans. Here's your host, Jordan Webster.
How can you not love this team tonight?
And we're back on Split the Defense, LEAFS postgame. I'm Webby here with CP and producer Ted in the booth. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a comment. We will interact with you, and we love to hear from you. LEAFS win Game 2, series tied, 3-2 is the score. Excellent game from a lot of guys, but who's got your first star here tonight, CP?
First star I'm giving to Domi. I mean, 2 points, leads it off with a goal. Big part of that Austin Matthews post route goal where he catches it right at the blue line too. Like if that was going to be the third taken away goal, I was going to be mad, but it all pans out. And yeah, Domi definitely, he proved last game that he wanted to make a big difference. And to this game, he really did. So, and actually a special mention though to Samsonov, because I mean, from having such a poor, well, I mean, give him a little more credit, but not a good effort last game. And to bounce back when a lot of the talk is if like we can rely on this guy, and made some really big saves. So good on Sammy as well.
Yeah, good on Sammy, good on Matty, good on Max Domi. What a swirl of emotion to start this game. McCabe takes the dumbest penalty.
Oh,
and then the PK. Kampf makes this move where he decides to defer and not touch the puck, which reminds me of a move that Brody pulled earlier in the year, where he just lifts his foot up and decides, no, I'm not going to touch this one. And seconds later, Geeky buries to open the scoring. And just when all hope is lost, Max Domi comes answering right back. So in just about, 6 seconds of emotion, maybe 45 seconds of real time, my emotions were up and down like a whore's drawers. That was crazy. What a start to the game.
Yeah, I agree. And like McCabe had a really bad start to the game. I think he started with 4 turnovers right before he took that penalty. So, but really like bounced back. I really felt like he had right from basically that penalty forward, had a really good game, brought it physically. I think, Ted, your mic's on. And I think that like the big part about the start, I think, was that they like not only was it the bad like that a bad play and everything, but to get it back so quickly was pretty amazing. And like you said, like really like a roller coaster of emotions for sure.
Absolutely clutch, Max Domi. That is the exact reason this guy is here. Like clutchness like that, he has the passion. It's in his blood. It's tapped into his veins. Like this guy's got it. He becomes the first, him and his dad become the first father-son duo to have playoff goals for the same team. The man's got the passion. Nice. If anybody was going to do it, it was going to be him.
Yeah, the puck luck too. Like those are normally where we're always complaining about the puck luck against us, but hits the stanchion, flips around and ends up being like a good opportunity for us. So you can, it's not always against us. It always seems like it is, but this is where like you need some good bounces in the playoffs, right? And we just happen to get a few. So
yeah, absolutely, we got a few. We had a couple of weird bounces tonight. There was 2 reviews in the second period. And one of them goes off the stanchion like that, and it ends up on Nye's stick, who pops it out to Yarncroke, and it was clearly not a goal, but they decided that they were going to review it anyways. And then Tyler Bertuzzi, he hits one out of midair, absolutely wicked play, great hand-eye coordination, but above the crossbar and doesn't count. That was really, really close.
Yeah, it's funny. Like they're 2 like pretty clear like non-goals. Like, I guess I could hear an argument about the glove in the net, but like there's just zero proof that that puck's in the net or anything. So, it's one where like I felt like it kind of sucked, but I didn't necessarily feel like we were robbed in any way. I mean, you need a
You know
little
what I
more
don't get is soccer. Soccer has VAR technology or whatever it's called that can predict if a guy's like cunt hair is across the offside line, but we can't have shit in a puck that predicts whether it's across the line inside of a goalie's glove.
Like the crazy thing is we do. There's a chip in every single NHL puck, and the NHL does not use it. That's the crazy part.
What?
Yeah, CJ was
It makes
the one
no
that
sense.
reported that, and it's like a couple of years ago these pucks came out, and guys like Austin Matthews was actually one of the guys that really complained about them, but they fixed them. But then they never rolled out the technology to have it be a goal when it crossed the line. So yeah, I think that's dumb. And you're right. Like when you look at other sports and how like obviously the technology's there and we just don't use it, like it kind of sucks. But I mean, what can you do? I guess
It just makes no sense. Like I guess the Burt one, I saw the Burt one and right away I thought, yeah, high stick. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
But and even the one that was in his glove, I yelled at the TV because it's inconclusive, right? Like I know it's inconclusive.
Yeah.
The Leafs could have had a few extra tonight, had circumstances just been slightly different. Another half second him waiting on that puck to come down, he probably still would have got to it first, and it probably would have been a good goal. But that's not how it worked. And then you have this technology, and you could have had another good goal from Yarncroke, but that's just not how it turned out. They turned out not needing it, thankfully. Big nights from a whole bunch of other guys, right? Ilya Samsonov, huge comeback game from Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah, definitely a huge game. And like, I mean, wasn't the calmest version of himself, but it worked tonight. And I felt that when it came down to the last 3 minutes, he was a different version. So it's interesting. I felt like he was kind of swimming at times throughout the game, but was really locked in when it really mattered. And
He
and
made
his
some pretty
swimming,
big saves.
yeah, and his swimming, like just like that, like that's a save that only a goalie like him can make. He's off the other side and then just like sprawls to the right. And so like, but that's also if like that puck goes on someone else's stick, like he's like, 5 feet out of the net. But gotta love that save. And like I said, he dialed it in. So can't ask for much more from him, really.
No. Sticking on the goalie topic, I liked facing Linus Ullmark better than Jeremy Swayman. He's a little more scrambly like our Ilya Samsonov, don't you think? Do you think Swayman might have stopped a few that Ullmark didn't tonight?
I don't know. Like, I guess there's an argument for the Domi one, because he's kind of swimming at that point. Like the Austin Matthews goal, I don't think anyone saves that. Like, he like, yeah, right, perfect. So like that's I think a goal scorer goal. I wouldn't give many goalies a chance on that one. So yeah, I don't know. It's funny when like you compare like whether or not they had a different goalie in, but Allmark's an amazing goalie. So I don't like really want to say that that's the reason, because like yeah, he played a good game too. So I don't discredit his play at all.
No, it just seems like it just seems like Jeremy Swayman is
Has
so
his number.
technically sound.
Has the Leafs number too.
And has the Leafs number, okay. But he's so technically sound that you can't break him down as easy as you can Linus Ullmark. Now, Linus Ullmark has the skill and athleticism to make these saves, but he does get scrambly a little more than Jeremy Swayman. And I think that I would much prefer seeing him, but you can almost guarantee that that Swayman's back in net for the next game. And one more question about Samsonov. Do you think he has now solidified his status as the playoff goaltender?
I wouldn't say his play has solidified him, but I would say based on them going back to him after having a slightly shaky game, I think that tells you everything you need to know. And then having a good game on the back of that, yeah, I think it's his to lose. So I think they'll probably be rolling with him, and I don't hate it as long as he's in form. And the nice thing is that if he loses form, then we got a really good backup. So yeah, I think they'll roll with him.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that he's on a string right now. I don't think that one loss is going to determine whether he plays the next game. You know, if he
It'd be a
loses
bad
two,
game. Yeah.
then I think maybe he won't get another chance. But even if it's two in a row and he loses both, then he probably gets the pull. But otherwise, I think, yeah, they're probably going to roll with Samsonov at least through the first round. I foresee him playing every game, all 7 games, especially after a performance like tonight, if he can keep that up. Because, you know, defensively, the Leafs are what they are. But Sammy pulled off a hell of a show tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
And Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews' goal was a work of art that we saw there a couple seconds ago. Austin Matthews matches his career best in the playoffs with a 3-point night. He was the best player on the ice by a wide margin in this game too, and that stat is from Chris Johnston. Thank you very much, CJ. What a game from Austin Matthews. That guy was everywhere. He doesn't just love to win, he hates to lose. He needed to lose one like that, one that really meant one, and he came out on fire. Playoff Austin Matthews is like that guy. He is just ready. I hope he shows up like that for the next 5 games.
I mean, it'd definitely be a difference maker. And I felt like he showed up pretty well in the last game, and it's not talked about a lot because of how poorly the game ended. But I thought that he was making a difference in the last game. And when he came out tonight, though, just you could tell that he was going to dominate almost every minute he was out there. And I would say Bertuzzi was a big part of that as well. Like we already kind of sang Domi's praises, but Bertuzzi, he was on a different level tonight as well. I mean, he made a mistake by taking a bad penalty, but I do think that like he was a difference maker. Hard on forechecks, just passing was more crisp tonight than it was like 2 nights ago. Yeah, but that line, you just knew. Like I couldn't. It was a game that in the regular season, Matthews gets at least 2 in this game. But you know, playoffs obviously, and he got robbed a couple times anyway. So I could have seen him at least getting 2 for sure.
So far, we saw the Florida Panthers beat the hell out of the Leafs at the end of the season. Doesn't really count. Then we saw the Florida Panthers play the exact same way against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first game. Now, I didn't check the next game. I haven't seen anything here. But have they even played the second game? I don't know. I don't have that much information. Point is, do you think maybe Boston is probably the lesser of the 2 evils, and that if they get through to the second round, that they're still going to have that challenge with Florida? Or do you think that they're playing up to Boston standards, and Boston is, you know, and that those standards are good enough to beat a team like Florida?
Well, like I think that clearly when you compare Boston and Toronto's lineups, that the Leafs have a definite skill advantage. I just think it's clear. The thing about Boston is they just know how to play as a team and know how to play in the playoffs. So I think that that's where it just becomes a more similar comparison. But I do think that it's hard to argue like that the Leafs don't have more skill and more talent. When it comes to Florida, I think that when you're comparing player to player and player to player, it gets a lot more like close, right? They have a much deeper team. Like when you're talking about Barkov, you know, Matthew Tkachuk, and you haven't even got to Reinhart yet. It's just a different beast than like, you know, Pasternak, like Marchand, like I don't know, DeBrusque or Coyle or
Zaka.
McAvoy, of course, on defense.
No, I know, I get that. It just felt like Boston excuse me. Just felt like Boston sagged off tonight in a way that I don't think we could expect moving forward from almost any other team that's going to make it to the second round. And I don't even know if we could expect to see that from Boston going forward through the rest of this series. Did you notice the same thing, that they kind of didn't, after they went down, their legs kind of got lost and it was kind of game over for Boston too?
I'm a little bit like I didn't feel like Boston was overwhelmingly good in the last game. They just like the Leafs just pissed it away like they normally do when they lose. And so like it could have, if Matthews put in that open netter, it was like 1-1 halfway through the second and after a really good first period. So like I don't think there was a huge difference between last game and this game from Boston. Just they didn't get goalied as much. And, they didn't make the stupid mistakes and take a ton of penalties. And like, there was a moment there in the third where I thought that was going to change, because just based on, they were not being smart, and they got away with a couple, stick infractions and things after the whistle that I thought that they could have taken one. So, and they
Playoffs,
could have been
baby.
down 5-3, like 5-on-3 at the end there. And they were kind of lucky.
Could have
to
been
get
down
foiled.
5-on-3 a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the difference, the main difference. And Samsonov played much better. So, I've
big
hope.
difference. Big difference talking about mistakes is Ryan Reeves. He had a great first period.
Yeah, welcome to the playoff.
Big energy from him. He had a great fourth line shift. The fourth line is really good right now. And, they can man their own in all the zones. And you had Reeves getting in Maroon's face. Like, that's exactly what he's here for. Imagine that we didn't have Ryan Reeves playing well to just, like, you don't scare me. He's laughing at him, right? It doesn't bother him. It's so nice to have that guy on the team just like, yeah. All of a sudden, you don't matter anymore, bud. You're canceled out. Like, we're equal now, and you don't matter.
Yeah, and the funny thing about when I watch that too is Ryan Reeves has just big brothered Maroon at every point of his career. And so like you just know that like Maroon gets in those shots and it's for like the public to see. But like between the two of them, there's a lot of like Maroon just being like, don't hurt me, please. They're a different type of tough guy, those two, like there's different weight classes, if you will. So I think
I don't know. They're pretty similar weight class, if you will. But yeah, no, I understand.
Maybe
if you will, in
divisions
that
or
scenario. Yeah.
However I want. Yeah, they're in a different
Toughness
league as far as
divisions,
toughness. Yeah.
There's tiers to this shit. There's different levels to this shit.
Yeah, there's levels to this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But Ryan Reeves, I think that was a big factor tonight. Ryan Reeves is really good, right?
Yeah, he basically drew a penalty. I felt like the penalty wasn't on him, but he comes in and throws 3 big hits, and I'm not sure who the penalty was taken on, but basically right after, like they turned the tides in that shift. It was like the second shift too for the fourth line. And yeah, it was a big moment, I felt like, for that line to get confidence, because they were on for a goal last game. They weren't played a lot because they weren't trusted as much, but definitely even Dewar as well. Like if we're just talking about the fourth line, like Dewar was much better this game as well, like a much more physical.
No, I don't know. Connor Dewar, he's just like, he's playoff Connor Dewar. I don't know where Brad Treliving saw this guy or found this guy, but he is tough. He is playoff ready, Connor Dewar. He's just the perfect fourth line guy to throw down there. You want to call him a fourth line plug. He is what he is, but he's great. He's energy. He brings it. He absolutely brings it every single shift. And he, better than last game. Last game, he was probably the first star in a loss.
I'm not sure I'd give him the first star, but yeah, like he is a guy that is more consistent because of the style that he brings, right? Like I'm not sure who to compare him to, but yeah, and it's great having a true centerman play the left wing on a fourth line, because it just gives you more responsibility. He knows more what's going on, and yeah, and Kampf was kind of the Kampf that we want to expect, where you're not afraid to put him out there with anyone. Looked like he had a little bit more of a step in his game too. So yeah, like fourth lines are more important than people like give credit for it, including myself. And I
swung your opinion, eh?
Yeah, and like you just see
83 games.
Yeah, you just see that when like a fourth line, it was probably a couple of weeks ago when the fourth line started really going, and it's just like they can swing momentum. And if they're taking a shift where they're line changing when they're in the offensive zone, that allows like Matthews or Martin or whoever it is to jump on and instantly have an impact. So yeah,
absolutely. Oh, speaking of impact, John Tavares, he also had a redemption game. Now John Tavares, he is the little thing king, and it seemed like the little things were just not going his way in game 1, but in game 2, he was absolutely the guy that we needed. He had great physical play. Him and Pasternak, this little sequence here, where Pasternak lays him out, and then there's Pasternak laying him out in the corner, and then in behind the net here, Tavares gets him. Right back, minutes later, next shift, And what a big hit that was. You know, it doesn't look that big on the broadcast and not from that angle, but it either was a closer angle on the TV. And oh boy, he just nails him. Then he comes back and he scores that 2-2 tying goal. He's got that dog in him. It felt like he held that forever. Like it was a split second and it felt like he held onto the puck forever and picked his spot. It was a great shot, sniped it on the net, and John Tavares absolutely redeemed himself this game. Got a round of applause for him, for our Capitano.
Yeah, it's funny when like people talk about the like Leafs not showing up for the playoffs. Like John Tavares, even when he played for the Islanders, like was fairly good in the playoffs, like a point, just under a point per game, when he is just about a point per game player in his entire career. So like he is kind of the one guy on the team that has kind of showed up. Like don't forget that he got a hat trick against the Tampa Bay last year in against that series. So he has been there before. So I just when you look at his stats, like he shows up in certain games and doesn't in other games. Like if you look at his split stats. So like we just need it consistent. Hopefully being with Marner can, pump him up a little bit. And I still want to see these lines, because Tavares, as much as he is declining, he's a huge part of this team being successcul. And like we can all agree that he's not as good as he used to be, but as long as you can get like a 80% of what his best play is, then like that's what we're asking for.
I think that's what you're asking for during the season, and I think we want you to bump up to everything you've got for this playoff run, JT. Like, as the rounds go on, maybe save some, but like every game counts here and every win counts, especially against a team like the Boston Bruins. Now, some teams, they get an easier first round opponent and they can be favored against their second round opponent. But usually by the third round and going into the Stanley Cup final, those teams are the dopest teams in the league that are playing the best hockey in the world right now. So it doesn't matter at that point. But for the Leafs, it seems like from round one, you're going to be playing some of the best teams who play some of the dopest playoff hockey. Right now, it's going to be playoff round one. You're going to have Boston. Playoff round two, you'll either have Florida or Tampa. Both playoff proven, built strong and well teams. So, I mean, like the Leafs really don't have an easy path forward.
Yeah. Unfortunately with Tavares, I feel like unfortunately the year that he got kneed in the head was probably going to be his best playoff year ever. Like right in his prime, having a great season, and all taken away from him. And like, I think we can all admit that he's lost a step since then. And so like, I think that yes, we need everything from our team, but I think the heavy lifting at this point needs to be carried by Matthews and Marner. And if Tavares is benefiting from Marner being really successful, then that's great. But just to be like a point per game guy through these playoffs is like a big step, and not a big step because it's what he's always done, but just what's necessary from him. And like we saw tonight with big guy like Matthews stepping up, like that's who needs to carry this team. Like I know the C's not on his chest, but like that's the guy that needs to lead us through this all. So yeah, 34 big night for sure.
34 big night. Yes, absolutely. Just went over Austin Matthews. Do you have anything else for this game that we haven't gotten into so far, CP? I think I've gotten all my notes out.
I got a couple. The Benoit battle in front with Marchand was probably the highlight of the game for me. And it, like in the group chat, a bunch of guys were mentioning it too. That's the part of getting this guy on this team that is so important, because it's like probably a lot of people didn't even notice it, but it's like battling. Yeah. Marchand in front is just such a weasel, and he wasn't for a second going to let him get the upper hand and not go the next mile or the next step and take a penalty. So played it perfectly. I think like he, even though he's not lighting up the scoring sheet, had an amazing game. And like that's the little things we need from him for sure. Yeah. And I don't know if you have anything to say on that, but my second thing was Nicky Bobby. As we said in the last episode, he almost got his goal and just got absolutely robbed by Allmark. like absolutely robbed. I thought that was going to be a moment, and unfortunately, he's going to have to wait for his moment. But wow, I just like one like just Nicky Bobby, he's still doing it. I thought this was going to fade away in the playoffs, but just this is a guy carrying momentum through the end of the season, and him and Holmberg seem to have something going there. Yarncroke's a little bit invisible for me, but Holmberg and Robertson like clicking a bit, making some opportunities, and he almost potted one. And I was heartbroken, to be honest.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about with Linus Allmark. And he scrambled and had himself out of position. Nicky Bobby had a wide open net, but Allmark has the skill, the luck, the whatever you want to call it, the athleticism. That's the word. To get that puck and still deny him of a goal. It was a wide open cage.
Yeah.
Should have had it. Should have had it. And I don't know if he's going to get a chance to have it, because William Nylander, I don't know if he's hurt. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but I expect him to be back for game 3. Otherwise, that's when the panic starts to set in. But he's taking line rushes in place of Robertson.
Yeah.
So when it's time for somebody to come out, it's going to be Nick Robertson. I don't know if he plays game 3, and if William Nylander's back and they win, he probably doesn't play game 4 either. So I don't know. We'll see when we get Nick Robertson back in to get his playoff goal.
Yeah, that is a tough situation because, like, yeah, it's Nick Robertson's been playing great, but I'm taking William Nylander obviously every day of the week, and I don't blame them for not taking Yarncroke out. He's like, Keefe's favorite person in the entire world. Actually, besides Camp, that's his favorite person. But other than Camp, this is his favorite person in Yarncroke, and PKs, and I can trust, even though I said that he was invisible, like it's probably because he's being the responsible forward. And I'm focused in on the two guys making, nice plays behind the net and right in front of the net. But, Yarncroke's probably, up with the defenseman being, the one guy on that line that's keeping the puck out of the net. So, I don't blame them for that choice. But it just kind of sucks if everyone's healthy, he's not in it. And we've been saying for a while, both of us agree that the fourth line's not his home. If we can create a third line scoring line, he might have a home, but it's just, it's just not a.
There is a prospect, depending on the matchup, and there's a prospect even against Boston to have a Dewar, Kampf, Robertson fourth line. Dewar and Kampf, man, they're driving. Imagine having a finisher on that line and not Ryan Reeves. Oof, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I just think that part of the success there, Reeves is a part of it, and it's bringing the physicality. And so I guess we'd have to see it, and it's not necessarily something I want to see for the first time in the playoffs. So, but I don't hate the idea.
No, I guess we never saw that all season, eh? Yeah. No. So I guess he's just not a fourth line player, and that's just never gonna happen.
Yeah,
never gonna happen. So you got anything else about this one, CP?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, Wednesday, Leafs back at home against the Bruins again. Game 3. What are your predictions? Who scores? Who wins? Final score.
I mean, I really hope in the Leafs. This is huge, actually, coming out of Boston 1-1. We're not really talking about it too much, but it sucked losing so badly in the first game. But I said, at the end of the last episode, as much as that sucked, all I wanted was the series to be 1-1 heading home. So, I mean, that's where we're at. And so ideally you want to take them both at home now. So I guess we'll see how it goes. I would if the Leafs are going to win, I think it's going to be similar. It's it's their first time scoring 3 goals in 9 playoff games. So 3-1 would be a beautiful game.
Yeah, we're going to need more of that. I'd like to see them score 5 next game.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think Marner he needs to be better. He isn't a guy who goes, they always say, he's not a north-south guy, right? He's an east-west. He creates space. But it's just, obviously, it's not what works in the playoffs. So I can kind of see it in him where he's crashing a little bit more. He's trying to throw some hits. That's not what I'm asking for, but I at least want him to be looking at how he can create things.
Take the puck and go. Headman the puck and go. Yeah.
Watch Dewar. Stewart gets the puck, and if there's any space, he's trying to get up the ice, and like that's
Or
what I
behind
want to
the
see
net.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Marner does that on the power play anyway. Like that's your job, is to take the puck from, north to south, or south to north, whatever direction we're talking. But like that's your job there. So like on 5-on-5, just do it there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's going to be the final score?
I think I said 3-1.
3-1 Leafs.
Yeah.
You got it here. All right, well, we'll be back Wednesday after that game. That's a wrap for now. Thanks for joining us for Split the Defense Leafs post game. We appreciate your comments. To show your support, hit that like button. Subscribe on YouTube. Please rate and review the show. We want your feedback. Find us on X at STDP Hockey and search for Split the Defense on all other socials. Until next time, Leafs tied at 1-1.
Nice.
Peace.
Love.
Thanks for tuning in to Split the Defense,
Split the defense.
Leafs Postgame Edition. Hosted by Jordan Webster, Craig Pearce, and producer Ted Evans. Split the Defense is presented by LaForest Electrical Contractors. Professional and efficient service since 2004, serving the Kingston and surrounding areas.